The Witch Wave is brought to you by Wiser Books. Wiser Books has been publishing esoteric and occult teachings from around the world since 1957. Wiser specializes in a wide range of topics, including astrology, tarot, witchcraft, magic, Eastern thought, and Western mystery traditions. Wiser Books authors include Teresa Reed, Amy Blackthorne, Rachel Pollack, Mary Kay Greer, Lon Milo Duquette, Stephanie Rose Bird, Judica Illes, Courtney Weber, Cindy Brannon, Lilith Dorsey, and many more. And you probably recognize several of those names because they've been guests on The Witch Wave. Some of the most important titles published by Wiser include 78 Degrees of Wisdom, The Wiser Tarot, Hecate, Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot, Italian Folk Magic, Existential Kink, Tarot for the Hard Work, Queering the Tarot, Entering Hecate's Garden, Heal the Witch Wound, A Tea Witch's Grimoire, Backwoods Witchcraft, Mexican Sorcery, the Marie Laveau Voodoo Grimoire, and so many more. Visit www.redwheelwiser.com to shop their full collection and use code WAVE30 at checkout to receive 30% off your order. And don't forget to sign up for their awesome newsletter to receive discounts, updates about new titles, special collections, and more. Again, that's www.redwheelwiser.com and use code WAVE30 for 30% off. This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by the Enchanted Heart Shadow Work Oracle Deck. The Enchanted Heart Shadow Work Oracle Deck invites you into the alchemy of transformation. Rooted in the lived experiences of modern women and femmes, this 53-card deck explores wounds, shadows, and integration. With cards like Too Much, Not Enough, Ghost of Memory, and Heir to Sorrow, Enchanted Heart gives form to nuanced archetypes rarely reflected in traditional oracle decks. It can be used for divination or a year and a day self-initiation through the forces that shape the lives of women and femmes. Created by artist and author Bethany Grenier, Enchanted Heart is a ritual tool for exploring the stories we inherit and the ones we create. Visit Kickstarter and search Enchanted Heart to help bring this deck to life.
The world is filled with bewitching people, and you might be one too. Welcome to the podcast where art is magic, magic is real, and reality is stranger than dreams. I'm Pam Grossman, and this is The Witch Wave.
Hello, and welcome to The Witch Wave. Happy June, happy Pride Month, happy New York Knicks in the finals. I know some of you might be Spurs fans, but things are reaching levels of collective effervescence and honestly collective ecstasy here in my city, and we're all swept up in it and grateful for some good news in these challenging times, so thank you for indulging me. And I also want to shout out my dad, Rich Grossman, who turned 75 this weekend. And we also learned that he has the same birthday as the New York Knicks, June 6th. So I am celebrating him too right now. Happy birthday, Dad. And while we're on the topic of celebration, on Thursday, June 18th, I will be celebrating the upcoming summer solstice online with the one and only Jonica Stuckey. We'll be co-leading a ritual workshop called The Fire of Becoming, a summer solstice ritual for creative radiance. And it's all about being seen, being visible, being brave enough to create and share one's work and one's magic and one's self with the world. Now is the time when we all need to be doing such things. The world needs our magic and our shining. So do join us. You can register over at pamgrossman.com/events or via the link in my Instagram bio at Phantasmophile. And yes, it will be recorded if you can't make it live. So do sign up. So today's guest, Lindsay Mack, is one of my all-time faves. They are a tarot expert and teacher, and they were actually one of the first guests I ever had on The Witch Wave way back in season 1. And I love Lindsay's approach because they are so tender. And I appreciate that because I can be a sensitive little flower when it comes to tarot, and I don't actually get a ton of tarot readings because, in my experience, some readers can be a little harsh. They think they're giving you tough love or telling you how it is, and they can interpret the cards in ways that maybe might be like very honest and candid, but it can rattle my anxious little nervous system. And so I'm very selective about the readers I go to and the readers that I feature on this show. I get 2 regular readings from my tarot reader, who is also my hairstylist. I wrote about her in Waking the Witch, and this is Amber King. And the way she reads is so gentle and loving. And then she puts a lot of the messages and blessings into my hair as she cuts it. I know it's all very witchy woo NYC, but it's such a deep gift that I give myself because Amber is such a deeply nurturing person. But over the last year, I've actually had 2 other readings, both of which blew my mind and which were full of magic and medicine that I really needed. Right around Thanksgiving, Angeliska Polacek gifted me with a remote reading. They work under the name Sister Temperance Tarot. And come to think of it, we've got to get Angel on the show at some point. I will make that happen. And then just last week, my friend and prior Witch Wave guest, Liza Fenster, gifted me with a tarot reading and healing session at her space here in the city, though she does do remote readings as well, just saying. And this reading was also so mind-blowing and so healing. And what I want to say about all of this is a good tarot reader is never going to make you feel like shit. They might have messages for you that aren't always easy to hear. They might have to nudge you a little bit in certain directions, but they will deliver those messages with tenderness and love. And honestly, I don't even often read tarot for myself. I tend to use oracle decks when I read for myself because there are a few that resonate with me and that deliver the messages I need to hear with that tenderness. And so when I read tarot for myself, I sometimes feel like it exacerbates my anxiety because with my particular brain, I will sometimes go to the worst possible interpretation of a card and then I'll fret about it. And look, you know I love tarot, but the real experts I trust know how to interpret the cards through a softer and more objective and more holistic lens than I sometimes have for myself. And I'm so grateful for that. And Lindsay is one of those tender tarot experts, and they are so smart and so insightful, and they actually make me feel like maybe I can do more readings for myself because their approach is that, as they often say, there are no bad cards. In fact, Lindsay's Substack is actually called No Bad Cards, and their view of tarot is that it is a tool that is always loving and supportive and here to be worked with, especially during times of tumult and vulnerability. And so I'm so thrilled that Lindsay is back on the show to celebrate their new book and tarot deck. And as expected, I loved my conversation with them, and I just know you will too. But before we get to that, first, let's check and see what's come through on the Witch Wire.
Who is it?
Witches.
Taylor writes, Dear Pam, I've been listening to the Witch Wave for many moons, and I want to express how grateful I am for the work you do and the community that you've created. In about 6 weeks, I will be receiving a stem cell transplant to treat a stubborn bit of lymphoma. This transplant will be autologous, meaning we'll be using my own stem cells rather than cells from a donor. The process goes like this. My stem cells are collected from my body, frozen and stored. Then I am given a super mega big boy dose of chemo to essentially put my body back to factory reset, giving me the immune system of an infant. My stem cells are then put back into my body where they integrate and start reproducing to rebuild my immunity. Isn't science cool? I'm told the reintegration and recovery can be very difficult. In addition to being physically and mentally trying, I have a feeling that this experience will also be deeply spiritual for me. The process of collection, reset, and reintegration brings to mind a journey of descent and return. I'm thinking Inanna, Persephone, even John of the Cross's Dark Night of the Soul. The day a patient gets their stem cells back is often called a second birthday, which I plan on celebrating every year. And the idea of being reborn through this process feels profound. My question is in 2 parts. First, can you recommend any practices I can engage with to spiritually prepare and fortify myself leading up to this procedure? Second, I am feeling called to perform some kind of small ritual or blessing or spell over my stem cells after they are collected and before they are reintegrated into my body. Can you recommend anything that I can incorporate into these moments? I'll be in a hospital setting, so I would like to be discreet, but I don't think it's necessary to be completely secretive. Thanks so much, Pam, and blessed be. Oh, Taylor, I'm so moved by this message, and I'm very honored that you shared your story with me and the Witch Wave community. Thank you for trusting me with these questions. And I just want to say, first of all, that yes, science is so fucking cool. And I think there's sometimes a misconception that if you believe in magic, then you can't believe in science and vice versa. And of course, that's ridiculous and couldn't be further from the truth. Science and magic are compatible and complementary to each other, and you are so beautifully modeling that for us, and I just appreciate that so much. And if I may quickly share, some listeners know that my dad is on his own cancer journey right now, and like you, he's blending together Western medicine with other modalities. In his case, he's been supplementing his radiation treatments with seeing an integrative medicine expert who has him on various natural supplements. And he's been to a hypnotist, and he meditates, and he does sound baths, and I've done rituals and spells for him. And so blending together science with spirituality and magic is something that I think we could all benefit from. And it's a very individual path. You know, my dad's approach isn't going to look like anyone else's, and neither is yours. But you're both trusting your doctors, but also your own intuition to tell you what kind of support you need right now. And that's just so admirable. So in terms of how you can prepare magically, I think right now an important thing is to call in any kind of otherworldly support that feels fortifying and inspiring and soothing for you. And if you have the energy to try and physicalize that somehow in your space at home, that can be really helpful. And what I mean by calling in support is to think of any deities, ancestors, even favorite characters from books or films, whatever beings that make you feel like your vibrational energy is being raised. Do you have anyone on the other side who you think might specifically be invested in your healing? I don't know, a grandparent or an aunt or somebody on the other side who you can call on. For the rituals I do for my dad, we call on his parents who both crossed over, but who he feels would do anything they possibly could to help him stay strong and resilient as he fights his cancer. I've also called in Asclepius, the Greek god of healing, as well as Hygeia, the Greek goddess of hygiene and health and wholeness and harmony. And so as part of my rituals with my dad, we call them in together. I light a candle for them, and I ask them to be with my dad and help him heal and give him strength and support from the subtle realms. And so I recommend doing your version of that. Maybe you'll have an altar for healing. Maybe it's as simple as lighting a candle or taking a salt bath, whatever form it takes. But the idea here is that you're asking for help and that you're saying those words out loud. And let me add that whatever beautiful things you can do to anoint and adorn your body right now, I would do as often as you feel called to. So is there a gorgeous, opulent oil or favorite perfume that you have? Is there an amulet you can wear, or maybe a gorgeous robe or set of pajamas? But whatever it is, just really luxuriate in the sacredness of your vessel and love on it as much as you possibly can. And because tarot is the theme of today's episode, I'm also thinking about certain tarot pairs, such as how the Death card is followed immediately by the Temperance card, or how the Tower is followed immediately by the Star. That after death can come this soothing, healing, soft, flowing energy of rebirth. So maybe some of those cards might have a place on your desk or on your altar too. And then for the actual second birthday, as you call it, and I love that so much, I know that hospitals don't always have the loveliest atmosphere, but if you can just bless those stem cells and shift the vibes ever so slightly by bringing in intentional music that maybe you listen to on headphones or put on a soft little, Bluetooth speaker or something. You can also, again, bring in or wear sacred perfume or oil, although do check beforehand that there aren't strict instructions against that. Maybe you can take a really luxurious bath or shower to cleanse and prepare yourself the night before or that morning. And you can certainly bring along any kind of stone or talisman that you can put in your bag or even have out at your bedside. I make little makeshift altars like that all the time. And I love the idea of you embodying the spirit of Inanna, John, Persephone. I'm also thinking of Osiris. Jesus himself famously was resurrected. And then, of course, there's Odin. Any of these deities, which are known colloquially as dying and rising gods or resurrection deities, any of them are going to be beautiful to represent or even invoke on the morning of your procedure. So you can write or extemporaneously speak off the top of your head and say something simple like, "As Inanna descends into the underworld and then is reborn anew, so too do I. Blessed be." Something to that effect. You're essentially embodying the spirit of these deities that descend into the underworld and then are resurrected. They're born again, even more powerful and radiant than they were before. Speaking of Inanna, I'm now remembering that part of her myth is that she goes through 7 gateways during her descent, and at each gateway, she sheds something. You know, she'll take off a necklace, and then a robe, her crown, and so on. So maybe there's also something you can do with that. Maybe you want to make a list of 7 things you want to shed for good from your old life so that when you are reborn, when you have this second birthday, you can have that fresh start and come back a little bit energetically lighter and freer than before. Anyhow, those are just a few ideas, but trust your intuition and trust your magic. I hope that all helps, and please know that the ancestors, the gods, and I are all here with you, and we're sending you so much healing and support and strength and so much love. Happy second birthday. Now, on to my guest. Lindsay Mack is an intuitive tarot teacher, writer, and founder of Tarot for the Wild Soul, as well as the host of the popular podcast of the same name, which has been downloaded over 10 million times. Lindsay's new book, Tarot for the Wild Soul, a trauma-informed approach for growth, healing, and grounding in the present moment, is out now. And it's so gorgeous. And there's also a new tarot deck called Soul Tarot, illustrated by Chelsea Granger, which is also sublime. Through Lindsay's beloved workshops, retreats, and online tarot courses, they have taught Soul Tarot to many tens of thousands of students from all around the world. And as a queer, neurodivergent, and now joyful survivor of childhood abuse, living with complex PTSD and chronic pain, Lindsay is passionately dedicated to honoring and helping to bring space, light, and healing to those who are experiencing any kind of suffering. I find Lindsay to be so wise and tender. I know I keep saying that word because that is the word for them. And I'm so thrilled that they were able to join me in person here in the Brooklyn studio. And you can watch the video of our conversation over on my YouTube channel, which is at Phantasmaphile. Lindsay Mack, welcome to the Witch Wave.
My God, thank you so much for having me again.
I should have said welcome back to the Witch Wave. Thank you so much for reminding me because, yes, you indeed were talking to me in 2017. You were my 5th guest ever. So it's so good to be reunited.
Oh my God, it's the greatest. And look at where you are. Look at this podcast.
Likewise, my friend.
Look at it.
Just so overjoyed for your expansion and your evolution. And that might actually be a fun place to start, which is 2017 to now, we're in 2026. That's almost a decade. Your life really has evolved and expanded in ways that I've witnessed and cheered for. Can you talk a little bit about, maybe let's just say, is there a tarot card that might represent your evolution or your journey since last time you were on the Witch Wave?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. I mean, I think the Emperor, for sure. I do.
Emperor!
I do.
Okay. And I just want to flag that in your beautiful new book, Tarot for the Wild Soul, so splendid. Lindsay, this book is so splendid. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But I want to flag that in the book, you talk about the Emperor card as a very misunderstood card. How is it misunderstood?
Well, I think it is misunderstood. And I'll also acknowledge that the way that it's misunderstood is one way to understand it, which is...
Ooh, okay, Zen cone over here.
Yeah, it is. It can be utilized as a card for divine masculine work. It can be utilized as all of the things, right? I think where the misunderstanding comes from is that so many people feel like the Emperor is challenging, tricky. Sometimes it's described as a very violent, violating, commanding.
The patriarchy.
I mean, like patriarchal, capitalist, colonialist figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when I really sense into the truth of the emperor for 100 reasons, it really feels much more akin to me as our finding our way to step into, grow into, become who we're here to be. Because if we think about the idea of Aries, right? The start of the zodiac, the scream of a newborn baby, the dawning of the sun. This isn't commanding or forceful. It is a pioneering energy. It's an energy that says, I'm willing to crack out of the seed and go forth. And I think that when we access our inner emperor, we're maybe becoming a sequoia, and we're maybe becoming a birch, and we're maybe becoming like a mycelial community. Like, I think when I look back at 2017, I started my podcast and my courses then. That's really kind of the real start of being a little bit more known for this work.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the work got very popular, and then I didn't totally love how enormous it got and had to like right size it. So in that way, I think I'm a good example of like, I went from like an emperor that thought they were a sequoia, and I was like, I actually think I'd rather like maybe be a different kind of a plant.
Yeah.
The misunderstanding comes from, of course, it's not misunderstanding. People aren't misunderstanding the patriarchy, but ascribing something to the emperor when I think it possesses an ancientness that's much more vast and inclusive than that.
Yeah. Sequoia energy does really help unlock it for me. You write about that in the book as well. Because I do have some like friction when I get the Emperor card myself. I absolutely do, for all those reasons you just mentioned. I said this to you before we started recording, but now it reminds me there's a Florence and the Machine song called King, where she's like proclaiming her kingness essentially. And it's not about gender. It's more about, I think, like visibility, claiming your space in the world. And it sounds like that's what you were starting to do in 2017.
Yeah, I think so.
And now I'm like, if you're not a sequoia, I wonder what you are. I'm like,
I don't know
cedar?
what I am. Maybe.
You give me some like nice protective cedar energy.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that.
This is the podcast where we will say such things to one another. Okay. And I think that really opens up your methodology of tarot, which is both in your practice as a reader and a tarot expert, and certainly throughout this book, Tarot for the Wild Soul. You talk about how the cards don't have to be literal, that it's not necessarily like, oh, if I pull the Queen card, that means a woman is going to enter into my life.
Correct.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yes. So I think that the tarot is at its core a very expansive, inclusive, spiralic medicinal tool. I don't think it has to be used that way, but when it is, what it winds up becoming is something much more free and where there's a lot more space. So the reason that I think that's really important is not just from a perspective of being a non-binary person and not necessarily knowing that the queens belong to everybody, right? While not taking away that there's some people, femme, woman, feminine identified people who are like, the queens are really important to me. None of that has to go away, right? But I think that if we're thinking about people who are just finding their way with these cards and who want to work with them in a way that doesn't need to be pressured necessarily, doesn't need to be about anyone else, doesn't need to meet us in a certain kind of way, like they really can be and are for everyone. So I come at it from the perspective of both a reader and a teacher, where I think that some of the ways that the tarot has been taught, while I have so much respect for it, because I wouldn't be doing it without these people, I think that the framework of it really does fall flat, and it doesn't really serve and support readers in their confidence.
Can you say more about that? How does it fall flat, the traditional, in quotes, way of reading tarot?
So I think it falls flat because some people really do have a knack and an acuity, like an organic part of their practice will be that they'll pull a queen and it will really be about someone's sister, someone's auntie, someone's mother. And some people that never happens. So how are we supporting them? Like, that's a fine way to work, but I think it's been taught to us, shown to us as the way.
Mm-hmm.
And if there isn't something under it to hold readers, especially really green readers who might feel like, I pulled a queen and nobody's here, that might really damage their own confidence. That's something that's a pretty high value thing for me, is like making sure readers are nurtured.
Yes.
So I think it's very powerful with all of the cards to explore what they might mean if we take them outside of some of the trappings that have been layered on them. Like, what is the Hierophant if you take finding a teacher out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what is the Empress if you take out woman? What is the Emperor if you take out man?
Mm-hmm.
What if you leave it there, but you don't make it all that it is?
Yes.
And it goes way beyond gender, too. Like, what are the Lovers if you're not looking for a relationship?
I'm so happy you brought up the Lovers.
Mhm.
And I'll just go there.
Please.
Because I thought we'd bring up the Lovers a little later, but I guess they just are hot for this conversation.
They're ready.
But I've been thinking about the Lovers a lot in my own life because I was born on Valentine's Day. It's a card that I used to think was very literal and about, intimacy, romance, things like that. And as I've gotten older, I've realized, to me, the Lovers are almost about like mirroring or projecting.
Yeah.
And you write about it so beautifully in the book.
Thank you.
And so for you, if somebody were to pull the Lovers card, that doesn't necessarily mean it's about their romantic life, their sex life, correct? And I know it depends, but how do you tend to talk or think about the Lovers card?
So just as beautifully as you put it, I definitely see it as a mirror. And I also think I see it as a bit of a cat's cradle. So I think with Magic and the Medicine of Gemini, which rules that card, we have this sense of, I'm a mirror for you and you're a mirror for me. And so any moment that we are alive and in relationship with any part of one another and the earth, we are actually in Lovers energy. And I think that the Lovers can be, and sometimes is, related to intimate relationships and love.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what is more important about it, more consistent about it, is that whatever your Lover's mirror tends to reflect to you will relate to an inquiry, an audit, an invitation. Are you really, really where you want to be in your life? That's what I think Lovers processes really do. Is this right for you? Is this a right time for you? So some examples about how this could come up, right? It could, for someone, come up as like, you meet someone, you live happily ever after, totally within the realm of possibility.
Yes.
It might also be a time where there's no one in front of you, but you start noticing like, geez, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I went to school, I did all this stuff. Like, is this actually where I want to be? Do I like it? It might be that you're in a great relationship, but you meet somebody and they're sparking something in you that you're like, oh, whoa. Lover's card can come up like that too.
You write about limerence, and that's a word that's come up a lot on Instagram. And, it's a very like poppy word, Poppy, pop word. What do you think limerence and the Lovers can teach us? Because I've had this experience
Me too.
where you meet someone. It doesn't even necessarily have to be like a sexual attraction, but just someone like lights you up.
Yes.
And for me, sometimes I can feel very like, maybe they're supposed to be my best friend. Maybe we're supposed to be collaborators. Maybe we're supposed to be soulmates. Blah, 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 blah. And then I've tried to stop myself and think like, actually, what is this telling me about me that I'm projecting onto them?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think that's exactly what Lovers helps us with. I think actually you're probably more likely to meet a limerence mirror than you are like a soulmate in the Lovers.
And how do you understand limerence?
I think I could go into sort of the ABCs of it, but I recognize that it's happening to me when I'm experiencing a kind of an obsession and a preoccupation with someone, and they are the source of the light and the power.
Yes.
And without that, I don't have it. And I've learned, because I've made my way through many limerences in my day, I've really learned, how do you absorb whatever it is that you're trying to put on them and receive it for yourself? And it's really confronting. And I think that is really where the Lovers card, it shines so brightly there, that it really does powerful work for us in that way.
To me, it's bringing up sometimes when I feel jealous of somebody.
Totally.
And I have learned how to flip that. It's not that I don't want them to have the thing I'm jealous of, but it's like, I wish I had that, or I wish I was doing that, or I wish I was working with that person. And then I've come to realize like, oh, that's just desire. And it's teaching me like, oh, I just really want that too, or some version of it. And so I owe it to myself to follow that, to let it fuel me or inspire me.
I think so.
Yet with limerence, because there's often like putting someone on a pedestal, that's where it can get very distracting in a like dreamy way that feels to me more attractive, but then can also be a little obsessive at times.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. I went through something like this, not sexual, but something like this not that long ago. And everything in my nature really loves and delights in like a limerence dance, not directed to other people, but I like just floating away. It's like a very old pastime for me.
Fantasizing.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. And I had an experience where that was starting to come up and it doesn't for me that much anymore. And it was really interesting to just decline it.
Yeah.
And watch as like the arrows went other places.
Yeah.
Because it does go other places. It just didn't go out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm definitely going to want to bring some more cards into our chat.
I would love it.
Before I do, I just want to make sure that folks understand that I feel like one of the real cruxes of your work is that tarot is not necessarily only useful for divination and prophecy.
Yes.
And a lot of folks, and there's a very fine tradition of that. There's a fine tradition of people looking at cards and saying like, this is likely what's to come. And that's something I would say you tend to resist or at least push back against a little bit.
I just want to explore and unpack another way.
Okay. Tell us.
Okay. I do think that that's exactly, and I tried to put that in the book like 100,000 times. It's like I have nothing but respect and admiration for that tradition, right? Across the board. Like there's
cardomancy.
100%. It's just never been the way that I've been called to work with it over the last 30 years. And I actually think that's great and appropriate, considering like I don't, and I think that as a teacher, I love and delight in teaching my students who are deeply future seeing. And like none of that is downplayed. It's not even a problem. It's celebrated, right?
Yes.
And I am an intuitive and absolutely do intuitive readings. I think the thing that is, and sometimes people will be like, why do you say that, your cards aren't for future, but you do monthly medicine? And so I think the difference there is, I couldn't ever tell you the way some people could, like divining events. It's more of a foresensing.
And can you pause and just talk about monthly medicine for people who aren't
yes, I'm sorry about that.
No,
yes,
please.
I do a podcast very briefly called Tarot for the Wild Soul.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. And do a monthly medicine, which is just like a little invitational, what cards will be useful, helpful, etc.
Yes.
But never like, this is what we're going to go through this month. A little bit more like, you may want to bring this raincoat and these boots, maybe, but you never know.
Yes.
So I think the thing that can be really powerful and useful and is a passion of mine is a lot of people don't read for the future. And I think that I want there to be a place at the table for them. And I want there to feel like there's some robustness in practice for them. And also because what I am most interested in and what I find I go to tarot for the most is how can I be with what is?
Yes.
And that's
now in the present.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is an orientation and a way to use the cards that I have personally found made them much more alive for me, made them feel much more intimately familiar to me. And I actually believe helps me to be a better parent, a better steward of the earth, a better steward of myself. I'm just a little bit less interested in what's to come than I am with what is present.
And you write so beautifully about showing up to your deck messy.
Yeah.
And we did talk about this the first time you were on, but I think it's worth not necessarily repeating, but teasing out a little bit more. I think some people sometimes think, oh, when I'm doing tarot, I have to be perfectly like cleansed and pure. And I need to take my salt bath and I need to like have my smoke and I need to be clear. And you're like, actually, If you're a hot fucking mess,
roll up.
That's a fine time to show up to your deck, right?
Yes, I do think
say
that.
More about that.
So here's what I have to say about that. Absolutely do anything you need to do, and you know yourself best. If you're beyond the realm of dysregulation, or if you're like, these cards need to tell me exactly what to do, or if there's a kind of a frenzied panic, then maybe not, right? But I think exactly what you're saying. I have experienced personally some harm is a little strong, but I think when I come to healing spaces or when I want to have space held for me, I have had the experience so many times that I'm a little bit too much. And I think that somehow there is this holdover from organized religion, purity culture, like a million different resources that somehow we're supposed to get clean to have an audience with the divine. And I think that's just been swept into New Age and wellness and spirituality, like neo-spirituality. And I really passionately buck up against it. I think it's ableist. I think as a sense of like disability justice, like it's a privilege if you are able to get calm and centered. Like a lot of people are going to their deck in total panic and really tough times.
Depression, anxiety, all of it.
That's right. That's right. Meaning like, I never want anyone to feel that their way of working with the cards is not perfectly perfect, but I do think there is something to be said, something that it can really add to one's tarot practice if you are willing to start with literally picking up your deck and saying, I'm so jealous. I'm so fucking messy. I don't know what to do. I need something right now. What would you have me know? And pull a card. And then from there, you can even start a conversation and just be like, how do I work with that? And you can pull another card and like, what about that? And pull another card. And slowly a whole universe of support can show up around that. And then from there, you can ask like, what's in my highest and best to know about work or the next month or the next week? And I find too that tarot can sometimes, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but like it supersedes. Like I talk about this in the book too. There are so many times where I'm like, what's the most aligned action about this thing? And then I get a card that is clearly telling me, please go take a shower. Like, please go eat. Please. Like you've had nothing but coffee. It's noon. Like
we'll get to that.
We'll get
once
to that.
You take care of
right.
you.
Yes, exactly. So I find that there's a very powerful place that tarot exists in when we bring it to what is very powerful. I think just as powerful as a tool to divine the future.
Yes, I love that so much. On that note, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by Blessed Be Magic Jewelry. I've been noticing something lately, especially in the conversations we have here on The Witch Wave, which is that so many of you are drawn to magic that's subtle, magic that's intentional, integrated into daily life, and deeply personal. And that's why I want to share Blessed Be Magic. They craft minimalist, elevated jewelry for modern witches. These are beautiful pieces inspired by powerful symbolism made to be worn every day. Think witchcraft and goddess charms, talismans, and sacred symbols that feel quietly powerful. Not costumey, not loud, just intentional. And I think listeners here on The Witch Wave will really appreciate that because so much of what we explore on this show is about weaving magic into the ordinary, into our creativity, and into living with purpose and presence. And Blessed Be Magic's jewelry really supports that way of living. And what also stands out to me is how the witchcraft community raves about their pieces. They have over 3,000 five-star reviews, and again, witches say that these are the pieces they never take off. Jewelry they wear to ritual, to work, and everywhere in between. You can visit blessedbemagic.com to explore jewelry made to honor your path. That's Blessed Be Magic, spelled MAGICK.com, and use code WitchWave for 15% off your first order. The Witch Wave is brought to you by BetterHelp. Happy Pride Month! If there's one thing I've learned from the LGBTQ plus community, it's that it takes an immense amount of courage to be fully oneself. And I draw so much inspiration from the queer folks in my life who honor the truth of themselves and who insist upon lives that are creative and fully accepting of oneself and one another. And a beautiful thing about the journey of self-actualization is that it is so much easier when it's done with the support of other people. Since the Stonewall Revolution of 1969, we've had 57 years of pride, and we've all been shown by queer folks how to live more vividly, more authentically, and with more communal love. Support systems are everything. And in addition to my own community, I find a lot of support in therapy. I love my friends and my family, but therapy is a place where I can fully and safely examine my own desires and anxieties and dreams and identity so that I can be more true to myself. And BetterHelp makes therapy more accessible to more people because it's entirely online, and it's the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 6 million people globally. BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the U.S. And BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. A short questionnaire helps identify your needs and preferences, and their over 12 years of experience and industry-leading match fulfillment rate means that they typically get your match right the first time. But if you aren't happy with the match you're assigned to, don't worry. You can switch to a different therapist at any time from their tailored recommendations. Pride Month is a celebration of community, visibility, and the freedom to be yourself, and a reminder of how important support and connection can be for mental health. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/witchwave. That's better, HELP.com/witchwave. Hi, Witchwavers. I know, and you know, you want some Witch Wave merch. And our print-on-demand merch site is now available through Dashery. So if you want to get different variations of our gorgeous Witch Wave logo designed by Thunderwing, or our Witches Are the Future catchphrase designed by Lara Antal, printed on everything from t-shirts, mugs, totes, stickers, magnets, notebooks, you name it, you can. Shirts come in different styles and fabrics and are available in sizes small through 5XL, so you can order whatever you'll feel you're most comfortable and most magical in. So head on over to witchwave.dashery.com. That's witchwave.dashery.com, or you can click the Dashery link in the Witchwave shop over at witchwavepodcast.com/shop. Welcome back to the Witchwave. We should say that the format of your book diverges from a lot of the traditional formats that really take you through the cards in a linear, chronological fashion. The way you group the cards is very thematic. It's about certain periods or energies that someone might be having in their life. So, I mean, I wrote a couple of them down. You have one, of course, this is the one my eye lands on. And when my listeners hear why, they're going to be like, yes, we know. But chapter 8, you call the waiting room, which are tarot cards for liminal seasons and unclear times. And I'm making that face to the folks who are going to watch this on YouTube because people who have been listening to this or watching this know in another deck, I use an oracle deck called the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. Amazing. But I've been pulling the riddle card so many times. And to me, that's like what I would call the hanged one card. You call it the tethered one. Like I've been very chrysalis, very liminal, very in suspension mode for like months now, Lindsay. Like, and I'm so fucking sick of it.
Yeah, it's
Even as I
awful.
understand, like my higher self knows this is where I need to be, you know,
Mhm.
but I'm also like, come
I'm over
on.
it. Yeah.
I'm so over it. And that's just one of the cards. Under that umbrella of the waiting room, you have the Hermit, the Wheel of Fortune, Justice, Knight of Pentacles, and the Fives.
Mhm.
And you write, I believe that liminal seasons are initiations. So this is very self-serving. But can you talk about
I love
that
it.
grouping of cards?
Yeah.
You know, when you're in a space of liminality and feeling like you're maybe stuck or transitioning or in that chrysalis mode.
Yeah, just support for that time, you're asking?
Yeah, and why you chose these particular cards
Yes.
to group together in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a very unique way of helping us understand these different kinds of cards, the way you group them together.
Happy to. So to talk about that, I want to first take us on a journey through the 3 lines of the major arcana very briefly in service of answering this question.
I love when you get nerdy about this shit.
Thank
Woo.
you.
Okay, go. Go.
And major shout out to Rachel Pollack, legend. May she rest. Goddess, completely.
Yes.
May she rest
Mhm.
in peace and power.
And heresy.
Heresy.
Friend of the pod,
I
Rachel
know,
Pollack.
I
Yes,
know.
but
Incredible.
yeah, goddess.
Total goddess. And 3 lines of the majors are her genius, not invention, but her conjuring.
Mm-hmm.
And Rachel Pollack speaks about it differently, but to understand this, line 1 is imagine ourselves as, that runs from the Magician card to the Chariot card. And the Fool is sort of on top doing its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to think about Magician to Chariot as, in Soul Tarot, we think of it as the I am line. And the whole point of that, if you want to think about like birth to 18 or 21 years old, you're trying everything. It's about your identity. If we look at all the cards we're looking at, the Magician, the Emperor, these are all titles.
Yes.
In the Smith Rider Waite, the cards are all sitting, they're people forward in the foreground. The point of them is to be like, I am the conjurer, I am the universe, I have power, I can wield it. This is me. And then we leave the Chariot and we enter into line 2 of the major arcana, where in Soul Tarot, we call that the Who Am I line.
And this is another 7 cards. Okay.
Yes. And so most of the cards that you just mentioned that are in the waiting room are in line 2.
Mm.
So the exception to that are Strength card and Death and Temperance. So most of line 2 is in the waiting room.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we do, and why I think liminal seasons are initiations, is that line 2 themes and these cards exist to help to decenter ways that we might be living, things that we might be doing that maybe are not totally serving us anymore. Like I remember one of the most intense, unending, crushing, tethered / hanged one seasons I ever went through was right before I moved across the country. And I just remembered feeling like I'm giving this all I have, but I also don't feel like I'm doing anything. And I also don't know anything. And like, I have no answers. I have no information.
Mm-hmm.
It's really intense. And so all of these cards that are in that chapter, in their own way, and sometimes it can be very difficult to tease apart, but in their own way, ask us to not do as a means to have information be revealed, to guide us a little bit more differently. Like we're moving from Chariot, where everything like looks really good, but it just isn't the vehicle for this journey, to a space of time where we're learning to co-collaborate with the divine.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing much more of that in line 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so to really learn the subtleties of it, we're really called to not do a lot. But it's very active non-doing.
Yes.
It is very active non-doing.
Yes.
So I think it's powerful to remind everybody that the tethered one or the hanged one is ruled by Neptune. It's Piscean. Pisces ends the zodiac. And one of the best ways to work with Pisces is to know that it's going to make everything bubble up so you don't have to take it with you into the next cycle. I mean, really think of hanged one as a dying card. Death card is what happens after we do the work of hanged one. a part of you is in a kind of a soul death right now.
Totally.
And it's the worst.
Like, it's okay.
And it's okay, but it's the worst.
Yes.
It's the worst.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're just making me think. My dad, he used to always say this thing to me when I was little because my name starts with a P, Pam. He would say, P is for patience. Like my whole childhood.
Aww.
As I got older, he evolved it to be like, P is for precious.
Aww.
P is for phenomenal. So I have graduated somewhat. But I hear that in my head a lot, like P is for patience, just be patient.
Oh, it's
and
hard.
It's really hard for me because I
hard.
love to do and manifest and make happen. There's another chapter, chapter 11, and I think a lot of people are going to relate to this, especially on the collective level. This is the When You're in Hell cards, tarot cards for impossible seasons. Can you talk us through some of those cards? And is that the next line of those 7 in the majors?
Yeah.
Okay.
So those cards are a couple cards in line 3, which in Soul Tarot is the there is no I line.
Oh, yes.
We really just dissolve any sense of who we were. Yeah. The tarot cards that show up in this particular chapter are the Tower, the Star, the Moon, and the Sun. And as well as, I believe, the 8s and Knight of
Cups.
And
Queen of Pentacles.
Queen of Pentacles.
Yep.
That's right. I think that any one of those cards, especially the Tower to the Sun, any one of them can show up in a reading and not have anything to do with journeys through hell. But if you've ever been through a real journey through hell and back, just know that even if you didn't know about these cards, like, you've gone through the journey from the Tower to the Sun, which ultimately is a tower hits in our life. We work with that, whatever it looks like.
And that's a lot of disruption, dismantling, things falling apart sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. A tower can be anything from like, oh, wow, this belief that I've held for so long isn't true. Like, it's getting upgraded to like, my life is ruined. Like, it can exist on a massive spectrum. And anytime we have a fire, we're going to hope for rain, and the star is that rain and the initial response to a tower to be able to cool everything down. The star is Aquarius, so it seems very fluffy, but my experience of it is that it's actually quite fierce, and it really advocates for our personal healing. So collectively, we can do what we came here to do together. And the moon is really the next stop on that journey, because the moon card does represent our willingness to be with the unknown, our willingness to dive down, to heal, to go into those deep Piscean places. There's so much more I could say about that. The sun card, rather than being like, oh my God, everything's great again, sun card is a little bit more like just the awareness that something has changed. We're not quite where we were before. And I think all of them do bring really useful nourishment in seasons like that.
Yeah. I mean, you write about yourself personally through a lot of this book. I was especially moved by how you wrote about that sequence of cards and the journey you went through after you gave birth to your daughter. Do you mind sharing that with us?
Yes. No, I do not mind.
Okay, good. You do not have to if you don't want to.
It's my pleasure. I'd be happy to share.
Yes.
I had severe postpartum depression, anxiety, and OCD. I have OCD, but it got much worse after I gave birth, and had it just because. And on top of that, had 2 emergency surgeries that had to happen as a result of giving birth when my daughter was... It's really bad. Between her being 3 months old and 4 months old.
Oh, Lindsay.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And pretty bad. And it was so challenging. And I think it is really important to talk about, because I had at that time so much support. I had, thank God, the means to pay for that support. I had postpartum doulas. We had overnight doulas. I had a lot of therapy.
And you have a partner.
And I have a partner. And it didn't, I think it kept me here.
Yeah.
But it was still, it was really hard, really bad.
I'm so sorry you went through that.
Thank you.
So would you say that was the tower? The tower was going through the postpartum, and how did that then track along the star, the moon, and the sun, if you don't mind?
Yeah, there were multiple towers. I was very afraid to become a parent. I felt very called to it. But even when I went to the hospital, I was like, I wonder if this is like maybe the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. Like, how am I going to be a parent to anybody? So I was expecting a tower, but instead I gave birth and was just one of those people that bonded immediately and was like, this is the best thing I ever did.
Mm-hmm.
The towers were outside of us. So it was like the main doula that we had hired got COVID. And we had big disruptions in care, which contributed. I had an IV line that got infected and that developed a blood clot. That was another part of it. It was just kind of like one thing after another on top of just this unbelievable hormonal cascade. And then the one surgery. And then the following surgery was like an actual true, like life-threatening emergency.
Lindsay.
And we didn't know kind of what we were going to do. There was honestly, I think, probably some malpractice at play that we just didn't pursue. And
yeah,
I don't think I even knew any better at the time.
Yeah.
So it was really like tower after tower after tower where I couldn't even catch my breath. Like I couldn't even get my feet under me.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'd be like a little bit of star and moon and star and moon and star and moon. It was like I knew I was in a kind of a healing bubble, and I certainly knew that I was in the unknown. And I just stayed in that middle place for so long. And then I think around when my daughter was about 9 months old, it wasn't that I felt better. I just recognized it as being different.
Okay.
Not every single birthing person will describe this as being a part of their experience, but it is weirdly one that many people share.
Okay.
Which is like a sundowning effect. There's an experience after you give birth that, again, is not shared by everybody, but a lot of people where when the sun starts to go down, you are plummeting to the bottom of the earth.
So you mean literally?
Yeah.
The
like
sun
your
goes
mood
down and your mood also
like
plummets.
Frightening.
Oof.
It's so scary. So I don't know why that is. There must be something to it.
Circadian rhythm hormone.
And also, you're like going into the night where you're going to be awake and all that.
Yeah.
And like slowly but surely, I was just like, oh yeah, that's not happening anymore.
Okay.
So it's like there's these little threads that you go through that let you know, I think maybe we have a dawning happening here that is sunsetting this experience. But yeah, I think there's a huge difference between just the active tower of like, this is rupture after rupture after rupture, to a space of like, okay, can I orient to a kind of a, not even a healing, but a digestion of this process. But yeah, with the moon, I think it just holds space for, you're just in so much unknown during those seasons. Yeah.
Mystery.
It's a totally new time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. I know that is just probably a lot to relive, but I think it's so instructive and so generous for you to share that, not just here, but in the book, because it really is helpful to understand how some of these archetypal energies can hold our hand at least and walk us through those times.
Yeah.
What was it like to write this book? Like, is there maybe a tarot card or series of cards that either represent what it felt like to write the book, or maybe you use the term anchor card?
Yeah.
Was there an anchor card for this book? Yeah, just however you care to answer that.
So I have a funny story. I have my own anchor card, but I also have to share that you're going to think, and listeners are going to think, like I'm being dramatic, hyperbolic, like I'm not like telling the whole truth. So I'm
already like, I'm all in. I believe every word you say. Go. Go, Lindsay.
I started writing this book in November of 2023 because we did a deck. It just took a really long time. So from November 2023 to December of 2024, I was writing the book.
Okay, so just pause for a moment. This beautiful deck, which also we should mention.
Yes.
That just came out as well.
It did.
What is the title of the deck?
The Soul Tarot deck.
The Soul Tarot deck. And it's beautiful. And a lot of the card illustrations, or all of them, are in the Tarot for the Wild Soul book. So the deck you did first, and then you wrote the book.
I did it at the same time.
Whoa.
It was wild.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. So leading up to and all through the process of writing for an entire year, every single time I went to my deck and asked, what is this book process going to be like? What will the release of it be like? What will everything? I pulled the tower.
Lindsay.
Everything. And so, I mean, I know the tarot can show up in a myriad of different ways. And I remembered being like, okay, like, we'll see. And it was really delightful. It was a lot, but I think it did shake up certainly a lot for me. It like brought up a lot of fear of being seen. Like there was a lot of contraction that showed up and a lot of like old trauma surfaced as a result of it. And like worthiness stuff for sure.
Yes.
That felt very tower. But also I think I don't know what I thought about writing a book, but I think the tower was also representative of like, this isn't totally going to be what you think. It's not your worst expectations. It's going to be great. It's going to be really lovely. And it was. So yeah, it was so interesting. But an anchor card that helped me to do all of this was Knight of Swords. Yeah.
Fascinating. And actually, that's a good segue to talk about how you write about the court cards in general. And I wrote this down in my notes. You say that the court cards can be embodiments.
Yes.
And you say the pages are compasses, the knights are currents, the queens are coves, and the kings are contributors. And that is all so new to me. And it really unlocked a lot of these cards because sometimes I find the court cards a little tricky to really understand how they differ from each other. I have my own format for it. But
Totally.
So let's talk about the knights, since this Knight of Swords card you said was your anchor card for the book, for writing the book.
When I think about the court cards, I know this like wildly differs from how other tarot folks talk about them, but I think about the tarot in three distinct parts. The majors, which are kind of like your macrocosms, like the energies you can't make or create yourself, we'll find in the majors, dealing with the sun rising and setting and ocean waves. Like we're here to say yes to and surrender to a major, right? The minors, I think from ace to 10 are very much about like, here's your tool, here's your shovel, go out in the world, get dirty, figure it out, fail, succeed. But we're meant to be learning and cutting our teeth and making our way through something.
Okay.
And then we get to a 10 and we've learned so much that we actually have the agency to say, I've done so much dirty work that now I know I don't want to do that again. I'd like to go up. I'd like to go out. So the pages start our experience by saying basically like, now that I've gone through the journey from ace to 10, what now? Like, how do I tune in? How do I really get a sense of like, what is the root of this tree so that my king can bear fruit in the way that it wants to? What is it being nourished by? So the knights can help us to understand how it might be aligned to move through our life right now. So the knights all represent to me different rhythms of movement. Some of them are fast and some of them are more speed-based and some of them are more vibe-based. Like Knight of Cups and Knight of Wands are definitely vibe-based. They're not necessarily fast or slow, but they will say like, you know, Knight of Cups is very much moving in a way that acknowledges that we're holding usually a big container that is very sloshy. There's a lot of water. Usually there's a lot of emotion. I think of that card as like the first responder card. And in my deck, it's a lighthouse in the middle of a really stormy sea. So Knight of Cups energy is something we can draw from another person. We can draw from ourselves. Like what anchors us in the midst of a really stormy time. That's one way to move through life, right? Whereas Knight of Swords is an archetype to me that says you are about to embark on something so enormous that is going to take up way more of your capacity than you have to give, and you cannot afford to think about it. You must do it.
Ooh.
So that is my anchor. It's been my anchor for the whole thing. You can't think about it. You've already said yes. Your feet have left the diving board.
So don't doubt it. Don't ruminate.
You
don't
can't.
second guess.
And like you will, but
which
like
are some of my favorite pastimes.
me too.
By the way.
Me too. But yeah, you can't. You just have to do.
Yeah.
You just have to do.
Yeah.
So that's what got me through.
That's so helpful to me too, just in terms of like my own readings, because sometimes I do take them literally where I'm like,
I understand.
maybe the pages are about a child or it's about just starting something new or, you know, you hear these things and that can be, like you said, but I love this structure. It's really, really useful.
Thank you.
On that note, we're going to take another quick break and we'll be right back.
This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by the Body Oracle deck, out from North Atlantic Books. Are you ready to connect to the innate and beautiful wisdom of your body and to the living world to which we each belong? Learn to listen to the magic within your own blood and bones with the Body Oracle Deck. Written by Abigail Rose Clark, author of Returning Home to Our Bodies, this beautifully illustrated deck opens our awareness to a profound truth. Our bodies are miraculous. The Body Oracle Deck is a somatic offering to awe and wonder, a homecoming to nature and the body, and an antidote to despair. In 4 sections, Clark guides you through 4 dimensions of embodied knowing: awe, curiosity, possibilities, and oracle. Whether used for creative inspiration, in daily ritual, or as part of an existing somatic practice, the Body Oracle Deck is a powerful invitation into the paradoxes and incredible lessons the body constantly offers us. And North Atlantic Books is offering listeners 25% off on the Body Oracle Deck with code BODY at www.northatlanticbooks.com now through the end of the year. That's now through December 31st, 2026. This offer is limited to recipients with U.S.-based mailing addresses only. So head on over to northatlanticbooks.com and use code BODY to get 25% off the Body Oracle Deck. This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by Bridget the Strange. Bridget the Strange is a queer Jewish tarot teacher and reader with over 10 years' experience. She embodies where magic meets compassion with intersectional feminist ethics, and she believes in productive, not predictive tarot readings to empower her clients to reclaim the power over their lives and make their own choices. Tarot can help illuminate paths that you can choose from to achieve the outcomes you desire, rather than letting the cards determine your life for you. Bridget the Strange also practices sacred reciprocity and donates a minimum of 7% of all earnings back to the community. And she also offers Friday block parties, barter, and sliding scale Sundays. If you want to get a reading from Bridget the Strange, or you want to learn tarot, go to www.bridgetthestrange.com, and that's spelled BRIDGETTE, thestrange.com. And you can use code WitchWave for 10% off your first booking, whether it's for a reading or tarot classes. You can also find Bridget the Strange on most socials as @BridgetTheStrange or @TheStrangeWitch. So head on over to bridgetthestrange.com and use code WitchWave for 10% off. Hey there. So people are always asking me how they can get more WitchWave, how they can work with me, how they can find magical community. And my answer is join the WitchWave Patreon. There is where you'll get bi-weekly bonus WitchWave Plus episodes, as well as ad-free WitchWave episodes and detailed show notes for all. The WitchWave Patreon is also where I lead a monthly online magical ritual, which you can attend live or watch the recording of at your convenience. And that's available for members at all tiers. And then rewards for some other tiers also include magical merch and contests where you can win Witchly prizes, as well as getting early heads up about my workshops before they sell out, and opportunities to get magical one-on-one guidance from me. And all backers get access to our exclusive digital coven, where you can connect to a community of other wonderful WitchWave witches around the world. So head on over to patreon.com/witchwave and sign up. It's a marvelous way to get more magic in your life and to support the show. Thank you so much. Welcome back to the Witch Wave. I want to talk about doing readings for oneself or for others. And there are just some basics that I found really helpful that you write about in the end. First of all, can you talk about your interpretation of reversals?
Yes.
Because I know some people, they ignore reversals. Other people think reversals are energies that haven't yet emerged. How do you think of reversals in a reading? So this is upside down cards.
Yeah. So reversals can be all of those things. They can be a myriad of different things. They can be something completing itself, like you did it, you're done. It can be, it's still emerging. It can be like maybe you want to offer a little bit more attention to this, maybe. The thread that binds every reversal together, I think, and the thread that helps us to make our way through reversals most successfully is by thinking about them as the right side up card, meaning the paved path in a forest trail or the main path. And a reversal is a divergence from the path that takes you away from the path and that guides you back onto it. So it's still connected to the card, right? It's not its own thing. It's still connected to the card, but it's taking you through a process and a little bit of a journey with it. I also like to think of it as a really unexpected, delightful flavor in a dish that you might eat where you're like, wow, like, is there rose in this rice pudding? Like, wow. It's something that adds its own flavor and complexity to the dish of a reading that doesn't necessarily make the card that we're pulling like, don't do it. So for example, I know that a very popular way of looking at the Fool when reversed is like, don't leap. You might be being really foolish and irresponsible, like don't. And if that's a really important part of someone's practice, I say, keep it. But in my experience, when I think about and when I have observed the Fool card, the reversal, I think, is 99 times out of 100 more about, are you afraid of this leap? Do you need to sit with yourself at the edge of this cliff and maybe put a hand on your own shoulder and say, what feels most scary right now? Because to me, sometimes, this is a little out there, but I think sometimes reversals can be flipped right side up even before a reading's over. That's happened to me before.
What do you mean literally or you mean energetically?
Energetically. We meet the need and then it gets flipped up energetically.
Wow. That is fascinating. I've never heard that before.
Totally. I have really found that to be so. So it can be anything, but the key to ask yourself if you get a reversal, a way in is there an unmet need here that might need my attention? Is there something happening within the realm of time or context that might be helpful for me to pay attention to?
That's so beautiful and so helpful. This is so helpful, Lindsay. Something that's jumping out to me on my page of notes, no pun intended, or actually pun intended, I guess, is the jumper cards.
Yeah.
These are cards that when you're shuffling a deck, sometimes one just it falls out of the deck. So what is your relationship to those cards? How do you think we might work with those?
I personally love a jumper.
So you pay attention to them.
Oh, I do.
You're not just like, whoops, and put it back in the deck. You're like, ooh, something was excited to talk to me.
I do. I take a moment with a jumper. I do. I love a jumper. I always fold it in and may not pay a lot of attention to it, but I think for the most part, the jumpers can sometimes be, for me in my readings, the most powerful part of the reading.
Whoa. And when you say fold it in, do you mean you physically put it on the table?
Yeah, I may. Yeah.
Okay. So you will leave it out. You don't shuffle it back in.
Yeah, I'll usually leave it out. I like jumpers.
That's so, I like that because I sometimes ignore them because I'm just a klutz. But of course, maybe it's spirit trying to be like, girl, we really have to talk. I know you want to do your checking with spirit thing or whatever, your whole ritual, but actually I'm just going to tell you what's up right now.
I always like to just see what it's about.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't get much from it. And other times I'm like, all right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I want to make sure we touch on your beautiful deck, which you have also co-created. Who is the illustrator of the deck?
Chelsea Granger.
Okay.
The incredible Chelsea Granger.
And what was it like coming up with your own deck with Chelsea?
It was really a dream. I wanted Chelsea and she blessedly said yes. And yeah, it was a process where we would get on a Zoom call. I would say, I would like exactly this. And Chelsea would ask a number of beautiful and very helpful questions about it. We got down to every single card. She delivered sketches. I approved them, then they approved them, and then we went to paintings. It was great.
They're so beautiful. Do you mind holding up just, what card wants to be held up?
9 of Cups.
That's so beautiful.
Aw.
And so, I mean, the illustrations are gorgeous.
They are
There's
very
also
pretty.
not any human beings in the deck, correct?
Nope.
So what was your vision for it?
So I totally honor, like, there's so many deck makers who've done this before me. Kim Kranz, the Gentle Tarot, the Simple Tarot, I believe doesn't have any humans in their deck. Truly, even before my exposure to those, well before anyone would have ever invited me to make a deck of my own, I had always known that if I ever got lucky enough to make a deck, it would never have any people in it. And one of the reasons is that I think for me, I wanted a big value of mine in making this deck was that I wanted anyone to be able to pull any card and feel like, oh, okay, like I get that. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to root into nature as a mirror. And I think, there was just something about that. It's how I orient my work. It's how I live my life. Nature is everything to me. So
and universal.
So I think to me, it felt like a given to do that.
The deck is so gorgeous. Let's talk about that 9 of Cups that you just pulled. There was a turtle.
Yes.
There were eggs. Am I right? And I know I just put you on the spot, but if we were to read into why that card wanted to be shown right now, like what message do you think it was trying to show us or tell us?
Well, I think that 9 of Cups speaks to, it is a strong invitation, and it says,
I'm just gonna hold this
please.
up. Actually, will you hold it up to that camera? Like, bam. Yes. Gorgeous.
So it says essentially, are you willing to be brave enough to get your hopes up? Are you willing to ask for what you want? Are you willing to sense into what your heart's desire is and really ask for that?
Okay. I don't know if I can flip to it, but literally, Lindsay, this is one of the cards. I'm not going to be able to find it right now.
I'll find it for you.
But I literally underlined that
Aww.
exact phrase. I think it was today when I was just preparing. Might have been last night. And that is something I'm really confronting in my own life right now. Did you find it? Yeah. Because it is terrifying to reach for all that we want, but it is more devastating than we could ever imagine suppressing and denying it. And we're talking about the soul's longing. That's the sentence before, talking about the fear of pursuing it versus the fear of never doing it or the regret of never doing it. And I am totally feeling that right now. Yeah. Do you feel that too in your own life?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I sure do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you feel like doing another card pull?
Of course I do.
Okay. So I am famously a very nervous querent. I get very anxious, Lindsay.
That doesn't bother
I don't
me.
even know what to ask it right now. I feel shy. And yet also I want a reading from Lindsay Mack. So that is my desire.
That is your desire.
Yes. So can you advise this nervous person, please?
Yeah, I can. So there are 2 ways that I feel that we could orient this. One is I feel called to float out the possibility, what is an anchor for you in the midst of this liminal season that you're in?
Love.
Or how best to work with it.
Okay.
Or we could just simply do, what is asking for your attention right now?
I don't want to decide.
Okay. Okay, I'll make the decision.
I'm like, please, Emperor at me.
Yeah, I
be
will.
in charge, Sequoia Cedar
I
person.
will be in charge. I'm so happy to be in charge.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I trust you. I'm so nervous.
So I pulled for you 4 of Cups.
Oh, is that a sloth?
It is.
That's so sweet.
It is a sloth who has had all of these cups to drink, and one is being offered to them, and they're like, I'm resting. I don't have time. So I did ask, what is calling to your attention? Like, where can you rest your gaze and your energy while you're in this liminal season?
Yes.
Okay. So 4s, think of them like cosmic dream kid forts that are like the most epic, beautiful, perfect forts with like everything you love in the fort. And any 4 that comes up for us in a reading is a little call that says, whether we kind of want it or not, or feel it or not, it's a really, really good time to lean into integration, to lean into a kind of a fort-like vibe. And 4 of Cups basically says, can we give ourselves time emotionally, psychically, energetically to digest an experience before the next one comes along? And we don't want to. I never want to do this. And sometimes what can come up in 4 of Cups is like fear of missing out.
Yes.
We're like, I got to jump on this. I can't stop. I want to go. I want to make sure like I don't miss that 4th cup.
Yes.
Something that really comforts me is that in most tarot decks, including my own, including the Smith Rider-Waite, that 4th cup that we say no thank you to comes back in the 5th. We don't lose it. It just comes back later. One of the great gifts of the cup suit is that it helps to teach us that we do not have to rush. We can actually take our time.
See, I needed this reminder so badly because I really am feeling this impatience and urgency. I'm like, I've been in this zone.
Yeah.
I've been trying to surrender, which I appreciate the like oxymoronic nature of even that phrase, but it's really helpful to be reminded like, you really can just take it slow.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry that opportunities are going to fly
so
by.
Scary, though.
Yeah. That you don't have to force it. You don't have to push it. Yeah. Oh, Lindsay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I
It's my
really needed
pleasure.
that for real.
Can I offer you one more thing?
Yes.
So whenever I'm in a big tethered 1-4 place, I always like to think about the material I'm taking into the chrysalis with me. So I remember when I was going through my really big one, I got super into Stephen King. Super, like I think I read like 12 novels in a couple of months. I mean, these were before child days, but sometimes I think tethered 1 seasons are a strangely beautiful time to get very into something that we wouldn't normally, or do more of something that we wouldn't. Like I always like to advocate for anybody in that chrysalis, like you get to bring good reading material in there. It's still going to be miserable, but I do think you don't have to be in there in the dark by yourself.
That is music to my ears. You know she's a bookworm, so I'm going to have to get like some big series lined up for myself. Just binge a show that I've been putting off for years or something like that. Ooh, Lindsay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, listen, I know people are going to want to pick up this beautiful book, Tarot for the Wild Soul, a trauma-informed approach for growth, healing, and grounding in the present moment. It is so beautiful. It's also just like a beautiful talismanic object.
Thank you.
So gorgeous. How can people learn more from you otherwise and work with you? Of course, they can pick up the new deck as well.
Yeah.
But you know people are going to want readings from you, Lindsay, and to take your classes and all of it. So please tell us how that might happen.
So the hub for learning anything you want to know about me, readings, classes, etc., can all be found at tarotforthewildsoul.com. You can buy the book and deck pretty much anywhere in the world. Maybe not at your specific local bookstore, but you can order it, and you can order it from your local library. So whatever works.
Yes.
But you can get it anywhere. And yeah, everything can be found. My Substack, my podcast, any way to work with me can all be found on tarotforthewildsoul.com.
Fabulous. Well, congratulations again. It is such a beautiful book and beautiful deck. And I'm just so thrilled and grateful to have spent this time with you. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you for having me.
That's it for the show. Thank you again to Lindsay Mack for sharing their wise and wild soul with me. Do you have questions, feedback, need some witchly advice, or just want to share something magical that happened to you recently? Drop us an email or a voice memo over at witchwavepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, and you just might make it on the Witch Wire. Please check out the video of my conversation with today's guest and prior guests over at my YouTube channel @Phantasmophile, and please like and subscribe. The Witch Wave is a Phantasmophile production, written and produced by me, Pam Grossman. We are 100% independently run and proud of it. This episode was recorded and edited by Josh Wilcox and/or Walter Nordquist and myself. Our theme music is the song Hand and I by Lycanthia. Our new Witchwave logo was designed by Thunderwing. Special thanks go to Matt Freeman, Laura Antal, and Cece Pascal. Please pick up my books Magic Maker and Waking the Witch, or the Witchcraft volume I co-edited for Taschen's Library of Esoterica series. And if you want more Witchwave, or you would just like to support the show, please join us over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/witchwave. Thank you so much for listening. Witches are the future. I'll catch you next time on The Witchwave.